black lizard sits frozen on volcanic rock. A crab crawls onto its head. It doesn't run. It doesn't fight. It just sits there, still as stone. Why would a wild animal let a predator's cousin walk across its face? In the next few minutes, you're going to find out what's really happening on that rock. And it's stranger than you think. The marine iguana lives only in the Galapagos Islands. It's the only lizard on Earth that swims in the ocean. Everything about its body seems wrong for survival. Black skin under a brutal equatorial sun. A face built for grazing underwater. This is an animal shaped by isolation, forced to solve problems no other reptile ever faced. Thousands of these iguanas pile onto coastal rocks, stacked on top of each other like a living carpet. From a distance, it looks peaceful. Up close, it's chaos. Salt crusts on their skin. Parasites burrow into their scales, and crabs move freely through the crowd, climbing over bodies like the iguanas aren't even there. Look closer at the iguana's skin. It's covered in ticks, mites, and dead tissue. Living in salt water and baking in the sun creates a perfect storm for infection. An untreated wound here doesn't heal. It festers. And in a colony this dense, disease spreads fast. Something has to keep these bodies clean. But what? Bright red, blue, and orange, the Sally Lightfoot crab is impossible to miss against the black rock. It's fast, agile, and normally skittish around anything bigger than itself. So why does this same crab walk straight onto an iguana's back without hesitation? The answer isn't luck. It's a relationship built over thousands of years. Scientists watching these colonies noticed something odd. The crabs weren't just passing through. They were picking at the iguana's skin, one bite at a time. And the iguanas weren't flinching. They were holding still, almost inviting it. This wasn't random contact. This looked deliberate, like both animals knew exactly what was happening. Under close observation, the truth becomes clear. The crabs are eating dead skin, shed scales, and parasites clinging to the iguana's body. Every peck removes something the iguana can't reach itself. For the crab, it's an easy meal. For the iguana, it's a service it desperately needs. But this deal runs deeper than food. Think about what the iguana is risking. It's letting a sharp-clawed animal walk across its eyes, its nostrils, its most vulnerable spots. One wrong move and the crab could injure it. Yet the iguana doesn't retreat. It doesn't attack. In nature, this kind of stillness around another species is rare, and it demands an explanation. This isn't an isolated incident. Researchers have documented this again and again at multiple colonies, across multiple islands. The iguanas actively position themselves near crabs. Some even lift their bodies slightly, exposing skin folds where parasites hide. That's not accidental behavior. That's an animal actively seeking out a service it can't perform alone. Scientists assumed this was simple opportunism, the crab exploiting an easy target. But the pattern kept repeating in a way pure opportunism couldn't explain. The same iguanas returned to the same crabs. The same crabs targeted the same wounds. This wasn't random foraging. This was starting to look like cooperation. Real, working cooperation. In biology, this kind of exchange has a name: mutualism. Two different species, each getting something they need, without one exploiting the other to death. The crab gets food it wouldn't easily find elsewhere. The iguana gets parasite removal and wound care. Neither loses in the exchange. But mutualism this precise doesn't happen by accident. Remember, these iguanas evolved with almost no natural predators on land. No mammals hunted them here for millions of years. That absence of danger changed everything. Without predator pressure, iguanas could afford to sit still around other animals. Evolution rewarded patience over flight, and that patience opened the door for something new to emerge. An animal that doesn't flee has to solve its problems differently. It can't outrun parasites. It can't scratch off dried salt with claws built for climbing rock, not grooming skin. So natural selection found another path. Tolerate the crab. Let it work. The iguanas that allowed this behavior stayed healthier, and healthier iguanas survived longer. There's another detail most people miss. Marine iguanas swim in salt water to feed on algae, then bake on rocks in the sun. Salt crystallizes on their skin fast. It's not just uncomfortable. It attracts more parasites and can damage scales over time. The crabs, picking at that crusted surface, may be doing more than we first assumed. When scientists tracked individual iguanas over multiple seasons, a pattern emerged that changed everything. The iguanas with the most crab visits weren't the sickest ones. They were often the strongest, most dominant individuals in the colony. That shouldn't make sense. Why would the healthiest animals need the most cleaning? The answer reshapes the whole story. Dominant male iguanas hold the best basking spots, the best mating territory. Holding that position takes energy, and energy means less time for self-maintenance. These males can't afford to leave their territory to bask elsewhere, so the crabs come to them. The cleaning isn't just survival, it's a service tied directly to power and position. Here's where it gets even more precise. Some researchers believe iguanas actively signal when they want cleaning, through posture, stillness, even slight movements that expose problem areas. If true, this isn't passive tolerance. This is communication between two completely different species, using body language instead of sound. That idea alone rewrites what we thought reptiles were capable of. Not all crabs are welcome. Iguanas react differently, depending on the crab's size and behavior. Larger, more aggressive crabs sometimes get flicked away with a sharp tail movement. Smaller, gentler foragers are tolerated, even encouraged. This suggests iguanas aren't just accepting any contact, they're filtering it, choosing which relationships are worth the risk. This isn't the only place mutualism like this exists. Oxpecker birds clean parasites off African buffalo. Cleaner fish service the mouths of reef sharks. But the marine iguana and the Sally Lightfoot crab do something rarer. They evolved this relationship in one of the most isolated ecosystems on Earth, cut off from outside influence for millions of years. The Galapagos forced these two species into constant contact, with limited food, limited predators, and limited alternatives. Isolation didn't just create strange-looking animals. It created strange partnerships, ones that couldn't have formed anywhere else. This is what happens when evolution has nowhere else to send its experiments. It refines them, on the same small patch of rock, for millions of years. This relationship tells us something bigger about survival itself. Cooperation isn't a soft trait, added on top of evolution. It's a hard-edged survival strategy, forged under pressure, competing directly with aggression and avoidance. The animals that figured out how to trust, carefully and selectively, outlasted the ones that didn't. Trust, it turns out, can be a weapon too. So why does the marine iguana let crabs walk across its body? Not because it's helpless, not because it doesn't notice. It allows this because millions of years of isolation, salt, parasites, and dominance struggles built a system where tolerance became an advantage. The crab isn't a threat here. It's a tool the iguana learned to use. Next time you see two animals that shouldn't get along sharing the same space, look closer. There might be an ancient deal running underneath, one written by survival, not sentiment. Nature doesn't do kindness for its own sake. It does what works. And on a lonely volcanic rock in the Pacific, this is what worked. If this kind of hidden pattern in nature fascinates you, subscribe. The next story is even stranger than this one.